Hello and welcome back to Coffee Kurosawa. I'm your friendly film fanatic, Ben Filipkowski.
And I am Farrah Sarpkaya, a person who loves film, but like in a super chill, I don't do favorites, I just love them all sort of way.
And today we are diving deep, not into a specific film, but into Farrah's favorite movies. So this is probably going to be a little more freewheeling than our discussion usually gets.
Because we never freewheel.
Yeah, we never freewheel. But it will be a fun one. And, we kind of thought that it would be cool to do a kind of getting to know you episode about us hosts.
Yeah.
I guess, like, in hindsight, that does sound like we just want to talk about ourselves. So,
I never want to talk about myself, but I always want to talk about my friends. So, like, the fact that we're starting with mine kind of hurts me a little bit, but it's fine. We're going to get it out of the way, and then we're going to move on to talking about you next week. So, like, it works out.
Yeah. And speaking of talking about yourself, before we dig into movies, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? Like, who are you? Where are you from? What's your deal?
My deal. All right. So I am, my name is Farrah. I am 34 at time of recording. I am originally from Toronto, but I moved to Ottawa, Ontario, like almost a decade ago, give or take. I am what some other podcasts lovingly referred to as ethnically ambiguous, because I am the child of multiple varieties of immigrant. And I am a full-time marketer when I am not doing voiceover, when I'm not doing podcasting, when I'm not doing art, and all of the other things that I love to do. I am a seamstress, I am an artist, I am a chef, I am a video game nerd, I run a lot of TTRPGs, just an aggressive amount of TTRPGs. And I live in a house outside of the city with my 2 cats and a dog, all with nerdy names, and my husband. And I'm sorry, Brandon, that I named you last in that list. I
thought you were going to lead up to, like, and a nerdy named husband. And I was like, wow, that's
I don't
rude.
think Brandon's name is that nerdy, but, like, I don't know. Probably some nerddom has a Brandon in there. But yeah, we've been married 12 years this year. I had to do math. And I don't feel like I'm old enough to be married that long. Yeah, thank you. And that's me in a nutshell. That's it. There's more, but, like, that's my Cole's notes, I guess.
That's the rough and tumble quick intro. So this is a movie podcast. We talk about movies a lot.
It sure is.
What would you say are some of your earliest movie memories? And, like, do you remember the first thing you ever saw in theaters?
So I had to go back and Google timelines because the third Harry Potter movie was released on my 12th birthday. And I remember that because we stood in line for a long time on my birthday. We were first in line to see it. It was very exciting. But that actually came out after The Lord of the Rings. So Lord of the Rings is the first one I actually remember, which is kind of wild because I think I was like 12 or something when that came out. I did not write down the release year, but, like, I don't remember anything before that. Not that I didn't see anything, but I don't think anything ever registered as going to a theater to see a movie before that. I don't know. Maybe because I had, like, gone with friends at that point rather than like my parents,
Fair. That movie came out in I think December 2001.
Oh, so I was 11. There you go.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I can get into that in my episode. But I saw that on New Year's Day 2002, nice. I think. So, yeah, that's lodged in my brain. So, Lord of the Rings, first thing you remember seeing in theaters.
Yep.
But, at home, you got the VHS player.
Classic.
What movie was on repeat for you as a kid? Were there movies on repeat for you as a kid?
Oh, totally. And also, for our younger listeners, a VHS is like Netflix, but you have to remember to rewind it or else you can't watch it again. And when you rent it from a movie store, you have to rewind it first or else you're a jerk. No, so I had a lot of different things on repeat. I'm an only child, so a lot of what I watched as a kid was like grown-up movies, you know what I mean? Because my parents were just like, we don't want to watch this kid stuff. We want to watch our stuff. But I do very much remember watching Fern Gully, which explains so much about who I am as a person. I watched a lot of, God, what was it called? Beauty and the Beast. That Darn Cat was like the best movie in the world because it's about a cat that helps a little girl solve crime. Like that was my jam as a child. I had 2 cats. Spice World. Big deal. I rewatched that VHS so many times. And then, like, you know, the classics, The Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Spy Kids, Cody Banks, Space Jam, Babe, Pig in the City, Fly Away Home, also about a family that lived pretty close to my house growing up, which was kind of cool. And shocking no one, I was super into, like, the Christmas specials that were, like, the stop-motion ones, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Yeah. Absolutely terrifying, but, like, also the artistry. I just was so obsessed with it. So like, though that's kind of the vibe. And then you get into stuff like Austin Powers and you're like, that's not appropriate for children. And I go, I know, but it doesn't matter because that's what I watched as a child.
Yeah, I mean, I watched those movies when I was 11.
Yeah.
Maybe. No, that was fine. That was fine.
Yeah, also explains many things about who I am as a person today.
Yeah. Did you have the experience of like, you wind up watching a lot of movies with your parents, but did you have the experience of like, there are the grown-up movies and you get like, go play in your room or something, and then there are like the family or kids movies that they watch with you? Was that like a common occurrence?
No,
Okay.
My parents did not care. Like, I don't actively remember watching Arachnophobia when I was 5, but I'm informed that I did. And I was afraid of spiders for a very long time. My dad was like, maybe you were a little bit too young for that. But like even after that, I watched The Godfather probably when I was, I don't know, 11. You know, I watched all sorts of action movies and all sorts of like sci-fi stuff and like whatever. I watched it all because my parents were like, whatever, we're raising a little adult. You can watch whatever we're watching, you know? So there was never a go in your room. I watched a lot of Monty Python movies as a kid. Yeah. Just so many. Like The Holy Grail. Oh man. I watched so much of that, which again informed a lot of who I am as a human and my sense of humor. So like, you know, yeah, there was never a go play in your room and do this thing. It was just it's on TV, you're watching it. All right.
Yeah. The you just mentioned Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And I think to this day, my mom will like regale me with stories of how I used to be able to quote like the entirety of that movie at length. Which, boy, I watched that a lot. Yeah. Wow.
Life of Brian. I am learning French. Trying to learn French. The only reason I know what a cow is in French is because of Monty Python. It's the only reason I know that a vache is a cow, because it's vache la vache. Vache la vache.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So you're watching all sorts of movies growing up. Maybe not all of them are what we might consider age appropriate. And for me, my teenage years were probably full of discovery of all sorts of different movies. Many of which were probably like, I probably should have been a little older to watch, but they're at the public library, and I borrowed them all the same. Was there a point in your life where movies kind of, and this is pretty, might be a slightly, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretentious question. But was there ever a point where that kind of like crystallized into movies being something more than just entertainment on your end?
You pretentious about movies? Never.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
I honestly, no. I was thinking a lot about this because we prepped the, questions ages ago. And as I was thinking about it, I was really like, I don't know. I've always been an entertainer. Like growing up, I would put on little plays. I would record my own radio shows on my cassette recorder because, again, for the children listening, a cassette recorder, no, is a VHS, but for audio. And it was, always it was always storytelling, whether it was a movie, whether it was a TV show, whether it was, an audiobook, whether it was a book or whatever. It was never just like a thing that you put on in the background. Like, I think that actually developed more as I got older and I started like doing art with a thing on in the background, right? But when I was younger, and even to this day, because we have this podcast particularly, right? I love telling stories, right? I love how as humans we come together and I'm bleeding into the next question, I'm sorry. I love how we come together to tell these stories. And it's always been one of those things of, this is just, I don't think I ever thought this much about it as a child, obviously, because, you're a kid. But it's always been, this is just another incredible way that we tell stories and experiences and learn about other people and stuff. So it's it never turned into, a thing. I always just enjoyed all of the parts of it. I made my own little, Lego stop motion things. I'd write my own scripts, all this stuff. And yeah, it was just never not a thing that I loved,
Yeah. So, is that what you're usually looking for? Is that the source of joy when you're watching a movie then?
Yeah, I think so. Because, I've always loved the intentionality around how people choose to tell stories, right? I have a triple major from U of T of religion, philosophy, and English, partially because I wanted to be pre-law before I realized I didn't want to be a lawyer, but also because one of the coolest things for me in particularly the religion degree was the stories that are important to us and how they shape who we are. And a lot of, historically, religion has been passed orally, right? Or around a campfire and all these things. I went to summer camp for many years, and there was a lot of plays that you did or storytelling around the campfire late at night and all these things. And the way that we tell stories, whether it's, a person making a random, what was it called? Red versus Blue, like a cartoon with the video game.
Yeah. Red versus Blue, the machinimation.
Yeah. That stuff, whether it's people doing little skits on The Sims, whether it's a big Hollywood blockbuster, we're coming together to tell a story that means something to us. And particularly in this day and age of how do we use AI to tell stories and whatever? I'm no, I don't want that. I want the human stories because that's what speaks to me. That's what speaks to all of us. And that's what I'm kind of into, right? I want to know how you see the world. I want to know how this person who, Persepolis we talked about as one of my favorites that we've already covered in a previous episode, shameless plug. The perspective of a little girl growing up in a war-torn country that is slowly devolving into fascist regime, that stuff like that. I want to see not just the story. I don't want to just hear the story because that's boring. Don't give me the summary. I want to see what is important to that person in that moment. Why did you pick out the bracelet on the wrist of that person who is, who's been injured in this attack? Why did you pick out these flowers to represent your grandmother? All those little details that make us human and make us unique and make us special. I love that stuff. And that's the fact that we as entertainers, like even you and I doing this little podcast, but like the fact that there's a whole industry around people coming together to tell stories that can change the world or not is really cool, you know? It's just so cool.
For sure. Yeah. So in there, you're talking a lot about like your own like creative history and creative endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
Have you worked in film at any point, or do you want to work in film? And this is a bit of a leading question because, you know,
Yes, it sure is.
every one of these episodes you close out by mentioning that you are a voice actor as well.
I sure am. Yeah. I am, yes, if you like the sound of my voice and want to hire me to act in your thing, I am a voice actor. My golden goose, if they're ever listening, Leica Studios, hit me up. I adore their work. I adore the artistry, the dedication, the detail they put in there. Also, like, you know, to be honest, there's little parts of me that I'm like, hey, Dimension 20, Critical Role, you like someone you need someone with a good voice who also plays TTRPGs? I'm your girl, you know? But being able to be part of the telling of those stories is really cool for me. Like like I said, I've made my own little stop motion things. I've written my own scripts, but the part that really intrigues me if I had to do this day in, day out, like that I would love to bring characters to life with my voice in movies, in video games, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, that, bar none, that is where I want to be. And yeah, if anyone's listening to this that likes the sound of my voice, bring it on.
So, Left Turn then. Favorite movies?
Yeah.
Do you have a list?
I sure do. Yeah, we have in our working document, the list that I've created was 100% me just being like, oh God, what do I watch when I'm like in a mood? Because like I don't, as I mentioned in my little pithy intro, I don't have favorites necessarily. Like I adore Coraline because it's beautiful, but I'm not going to watch Coraline if I'm in a weird mood. I'm going to watch, WALL-E, for example. Yeah. Or like if I'm in a little bit of a spicy mood, maybe I'll watch The Big Sleep. Or like if I want to see something visually captivating, Into the Spider-Verse, bar none, I will watch that on repeat. Stepford Wives is something that I really enjoy. The Charlie Brown Christmas special, if it's not Christmas if I don't watch that. Passing was a phenomenal film. P.S. I Love You and Dead Poet Society make me cry every time because they're beautiful. Death to Smoochie is absolutely nonsense, and I adore it. Also because I just really like Ed Norton and Robin Williams, so like whatever. House of Spoils was really cool, even though it was like a smaller thing and kind of weird, and I'm not going to watch it every time, but it was really interesting take on, cooking, which is a big part of my life, and like a whole bunch of other stuff. And then like Atlantis, the cartoon, like there are so many movies that have impacted me at different moments that I'm like, ooh, I love that. And I love this part of this thing and this part of that thing. And like, that is very much reflected in the movies that I pick for our show, even.
Yeah.
Like, my triple threat is like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Breakfast at Tiffany's, and Pretty Woman. And like, they're three of my favorite movies. I don't watch them all of the time, but like, if I'm in a particular mood and I want to feel like a little bit sassy or like a little bit fun, or like I just want something lovely and wholesome or whatever, I'll put one of those on. Like there's a laundry list of things that will just like, that just bring me the greatest joy. I think WALL-E is probably pretty close up to the top of that list just because and it's going to be on the list at some point for us for sure, because like telling stories without dialogue is just so cool, and the music is beautiful and all these things. But like, I can't pick a favorite. That's like asking me to pick a favorite of my animals, Like I can't do it. They're all beautiful in their own way. Even if George's little Mew is just the cutest little like, like he just holds his little foot so cutely. But like Fred is like this sassy little boy who's just like, I don't take nothing from nobody. You know, like I can't pick. It just doesn't work that way.
Man, just two
Uh,
observations. Not a lot of people would cite Death to. I feel like not a lot of people would cite Death to Smoochie as a favorite. That's like a deep
Probably.
cut. Um, I think I have that on DVD somewhere
Oh, heck
in my
yes.
house. Yeah, that also
It's,
has Jon Stewart and Danny DeVito in it. Is another
yes.
fun little
Yes.
detail.
It's such a weird movie.
Oh,
And
and
I
it's
love it. It's
so dark.
it's the antithesis to Won't You Be My Neighbor or Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yeah,
And I love that for it, you
yeah,
know? Um,
yeah.
I don't know, it just is.
It winds up being very like uplifting, but boy, it's dark and hilarious to get
It
there.
sure is.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, and a confession. Not a confession. I've never seen Wally.
Oh, then I'm adding that to this soon season because it is again one of my most favorite movies. The music, like the score by itself has gotten me through a lot of like tough times because it's so gosh darn beautiful. But like it is, God, it's so good. It's just so good. It's so. I studied the script in university, in my one of my religion courses of all things because it's just the Ark. It's just Noah's Ark,
Yeah.
right? And it's just, oh, yeah, now we have to watch it because
Hmm.
I need you to experience the joys of these things. I like that I'm introducing you to like the cute little kids movies that I watch because they're fun, and you're introducing me to like, I don't know, Kurosawa films. Like this is the history of film, and this is the fun and the wholesomeness.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of made me think of like, well, what like is there like what stuff would people be surprised that you haven't watched?
Mhm.
And I feel like not to answer for you, but I feel like we have very different perspectives in that. Like I'm like out here with like, yeah, this is the canon of like quote unquote important film, and you're
Uh-huh.
like, and here's like the joy and wonder in pop
Yeah.
culture. Like I
Yeah.
haven't seen Wally. I've never seen Mean Girls.
Mhm.
Um, I think like people would be surprised that there's like a large swath of movies that are like iconic to some degree that I just have not seen.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah,
And that's what makes us such an excellent pairing, I think. Because, like, there's, like I said, the part of the movies that brings me joy the most is that telling of stories, is that snapshot in time of what the world is looking at and paying attention to, and like, why was this made when it was made, and the timeline that it was made. Why was it so impactful? Like with Pinocchio,
yeah,
with Del Toro's Pinocchio, we were talking about like when it came out versus its impact today and the state of the world and all these things, and like all of that stuff, and remaking stories that we'd all know and love, like Noah's Ark, right? Um, and the story of floods are ubiquitous across, not just Christianity, but like religions all over the world, right? And I could go on a tangent on that. I'm not going to. But the that's the part for me, because I feel like you're very much more like movies as a thing themselves, whereas I'm just like, let me look at culture and people. And I don't mean that in like a judgy way. I
yeah,
mean that in like, that's the pieces that I love of like, ooh, how did they look at this thing? And investigate it from a cultural like feelings perspective, of like two robots fall in love. And the script, like I read the script for this class for Wally in particular, and it's like a sad boop, beep boop. And like it's just full of stuff like that, where and like there's maybe like a page or two of lines because occasionally there's humans or like robots that actually have like text voices, text to speech, if you will. And it's just like that crafting of Noah's Ark and retelling it in today's context of like environmental destruction is just like a thing that
yeah.
I mean, Fern Gully was one of my movies, right? It's just a thing that I'm super interested in. But also just, you got two robots falling in love, and he just wants to grow this little plant, and it's real cute.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, to continue the trend of getting you to name your favorites.
Oh, Lord.
You have favorite actors or directors?
So, yes and no, because I have in my journal, because I journal frequently, I have a bucket list of directors and studios and actors and actresses and performers that I'd like to work alongside and learn from and all this stuff, right? But I'm trash at names. I'm so bad at names, y'all. It's a problem. Sometimes at work it's a problem, and I'm like, I know who you are. I've worked with you frequently. And you're like, hey, Farrah, how's it going? And I'm like, I hope you have a name tag, my friend. So,
Hey, you.
hey, you, somebody please say this person's name. Let me just go into our HR tool and make sure I know who you are, because I know who your boss is. It's just like a whole thing. But if I had to kind of like dig into the who's, I fully Googled my favorite movies and was like, okay, what directors did these movies? And like, I went that way.
Okay, fair.
So like, I mean, Mike Flanagan, again, Mike Flanagan, if you ever hear this for some bizarre reason, hit me up. I would die if I got cast in one of his films. Ava DuVernay, I'm going to pronounce so many names wrong, and I am so sorry in advance. You are all incredible and talented, and I would love to work with you, but names are hard for me. Del Toro, of course, Wes Anderson, Spike Lee, Hayao Miyazaki. Like, there's so many directors that I like. Again, just went into my list and was like, here's the ones I like. But I think the thing ultimately is, for me, unique perspective, unique use of color, and staging and all these things, and also just like compelling stories that focus again more on the human aspect than the let me make this cool movie. No, I want you to tell me a story. That's what I want. I want a story. I don't care about the movie stuff. I mean, I do care. That's why we're here. But like, I just want a compelling story. And then my actors and actresses list is very long because, again, a laundry list of people I would absolutely love to learn from, and also that I just love to watch. Like Kate Winslet, anything that she does, her and Cameron Diaz, Kathryn Hahn, Nicole Kidman, oh my God. I could watch them for days, and they're all very different vibes. You know what I mean? Tati Gabrielle, Antonia Miller, and Kate Siegel, and Yetide Badaki. I am so sorry. I am bad at names. I'm so sorry. Ruth Negga, Viola Davis, of course. She is a powerhouse, right? That's just the actresses. I'm not going to go through the rest of my list because we'll be here all day. But like, there are so many incredible talents. And again, some of them are like cheesy, lighthearted storytellers, and some of them are like, oof, heavy. And then others can do both. And I love that for them. And it's just like, I love all of these things. And I want all of these things in my brain because you're so gosh darn cool. And it's a professional admiration as much as it is just a human thing of just like, I just love the way you bring this thing to life. Like, if I can watch a movie or a show or like whatever and forget that it's a movie and just think, oh, I'm just watching people, done. I am the happiest camper. And then I get out of it and I'm like, oh, right, there's like a whole set there, and there's like a director there, and like that room probably didn't have a ceiling because there was lights there, and like, I love that. And a lot of the actors on my list already so far that I've named, very good at that.
Sure. So, when shifting gears a little bit,
yeah,
imagine for a moment you were transported back to like 2006, 2007. And you gotta figure out a movie to watch for the evening. You're in your local Blockbuster, your Rogers Video, or you're going off to a cinema. How do you pick one movie over another? Like, what is it that you're looking for? What stands out to you
Yeah.
that makes you
As
say,
the
this is the thing I'm going to watch?
yeah. As the kids say, vibes. But it's mostly my mood, right? Like so we were today supposed to record your triple threat. And this week I
Yeah.
went to watch the triple threat movies and I was like, I just can't, dude. I need to not watch some depressing stuff. I just can't today. Because I
Yeah.
just wanted something lighthearted and fun and like lovely and like whatever. And I think that's a lot of it. Sometimes it's, someone recommended it to me, someone else wants to see a certain thing, whatever. But it's that, if I walk up to the Cineplex or the whatever movie theater, pick your local theater. I look for, stories that are going to really focus in on partially focusing in on people. And I use the word people very broadly because, like, Wild Robot is about a robot. Wall-E, about a robot. Not about people, but you know what I mean. And the stories that speak to me in that moment often align with, things that are going on in my life at the time, right? Like that's the same. That can also be true of podcasts I listen to. That is true also of books I read and all these things. Because like for me, because it is very much that human story side, that like feelings side of sometimes I just want Mr. Rogers to tell me that it's okay, And that's impactful for me versus like the other day when we watched Pinocchio for the show, right? I was feeling a little bit in my feelings about the world. Or, the Persepolis episode, same thing,
Mhm.
right? Like what the world is looking like. I want to look for stories that will give me a new perspective on what's going on in the world, or the same perspective that I've seen a million times because I know that it's comforting, right?
Mhm.
That's kind of how I make those decisions. I remember one time on my 15th birthday, 16th birthday, something like that. A young man who was my boyfriend at the time took me on a date. And he took me to watch God, Knocked Up. And then he tried to hook up with me. And I was like, bro, you just picked the worst movie to do that to. First of all. Second of all, what? Why is that the movie you chose to bring your girlfriend of 16 years old today to go see
Jeez.
if you wanted to, And I was just like, those kind of mismatches for me, like a movie can be the best movie in the whole world. But if it's not vibing, I'm just like, I can't engage with this right now. And it's just the way it is.
Well, what a move to just
I
okay.
know.
Hey, you want to
I
watch a
know.
cautionary tale about accidental pregnancy?
Yeah. Yeah. It
Wow.
was great.
Bold.
Teenagers, man. Teenagers.
so so with like that kind of like what movies vibes were you surprised by in that case then?
Yeah. So, Thousands of Beavers. Hundreds of Beavers? What
It's
was
one of
that?
those. Yeah.
One of those. A lot of beavers. Just an aggressive amount of beavers. That one. I died laughing. It was so good. I would absolutely watch it again. It just felt very like cozy and homey. Late Night with the Devil. Oh, masterclass. Loved that movie. The Menu was weird vibes. And
Those
it took me a while to be like, did I like this? I don't know if I liked this. But I did eventually.
yeah, that one surprised me because like
Yeah.
it was on streaming and I was like, I'll just throw this on, and I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
actually pretty good. Like,
Yeah. I fully didn't like it until the last 10 minutes of it.
huh,
And
okay.
then after I watched the ending, as I was thinking about the rest of the movie, I was like, oh, I get it now. But like, it took me till the end of the movie to like really like feel any kind of like fondness for it. Again, not because it was a bad movie or anything. It was just one of those things that was just like, I don't know, man. But building empathy and building story and character and all this stuff made it that much better for me, you know? Like, I don't know.
Fair. Fair.
And Alita Battle Angel.
Okay.
Featuring one of my favorite actors, Christoph Waltz. Loved that movie, dude. It was so good. I actually, that's not true. I don't know if it was good. I just really enjoyed it. You know? It was so fun and I want more. I want more of them. I want more Christoph Waltz and I just want all of that. So like those were the ones where I was just like, I didn't know if I would like this, but it was great.
Nice.
The vibes were great.
I think that's a Robert Rodriguez movie. I'd have to look that up. Yeah, Robert Rodriguez is very cool in that he just kind of keeps doing his own thing, regardless of like what is going on.
I love
like
that.
Whatever like the current trend is, he's kind of chasing his own thing, which is pretty cool.
Good. And that's probably why I liked it, right? Like, fully. Instead of being like, oh, this thing's on trend, I'm going to make a movie that does this, and like some studio's going to pay me a bunch of money for it, great. I respect the hustle. Don't get me wrong. Fully respect the hustle. But also, I respect the hustle of like, I just want to make stuff that I want to make. Like, and I'll try it. Like, cool, go for it. And then it happens, and then it's cool. Like, I love that.
That's awesome. On the flip side of that coin, what movies did you think that you would vibe with, but it turns out the vibes were very off?
I feel like they're going to have very similar vibes because like I one of the favorites I named was The Big Sleep, right?
Yeah.
I was a big into, and still am, I still adore film noir, like classic film noir. And so the three that like immediately sprung to mind was The Lighthouse, Banshees of Inisherin, and Nosferatu. They were fine. They were interesting. But like,
I'm just you're biting my tongue a little bit.
I
mean, I'm with you on Nosferatu. I'm with you on that one for sure.
But right, I mean, this is the thing, right? It's not that they're bad. It's not that I'm saying they're bad movies.
Yeah.
Right. It's just they didn't
connect with you.
They didn't connect with me in the way that I wanted them to. So like I could go and look at them as a academic looking at film composition, color, storytelling, pacing, all of this stuff, and probably come out saying, yeah, these were mastercrafts in storytelling. Also, am I going to watch them again? Maybe if we do them for the podcast, I'll do it. I'll watch them again because I have to. And maybe I'll get more out of them because I have more context and all this stuff. But they just, I don't know, they're fine.
I'll say it. Nosferatu is not a masterclass in storytelling. I'll go there. It's perfectly, yeah, like again, it's perfectly fine. It's just not all it's. There was so much hype around that. And I personally was disappointed watching that. I can dig into that in my episode, though. I don't want to steamroll yours.
All right, so Nosferatu and biopics. We'll put the pin in those for you to talk about next episode for your episode. Yeah.
So we're kind of on a theme here. Yep. What is the ideal way to watch a movie? And like, you know, from everything you've been saying, it seems like the kind of like energy, the feel of things, the vibe of things is like a big factor in that. So like, are you a big fan of the theater experience then? Is that the best way in your books?
So I love a good theater, particularly now that they have like the lie down seats because I have a bad back. And so I can't actually sit in like the classic theater seats anymore because I will fully just stop walking. But I mean, like I think I watched Into the Spider-Verse in theaters like 6 times, fully 6 times. I think I watched a couple of the Lord of the Rings, certainly more than once, in theaters because they were such like visual masterpieces. That said, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. great example. I don't want to watch that in a theater because it's a very intimate, very cozy film, right? He's talking to the child in me, not this big theater of strangers. So I want to watch that by myself or like with close friends or like my partner or with my husband or whatever. Or things like, What Dreams May Come. I don't need to cry in front of a bunch of strangers. Like, don't get me wrong. I've watched some sad movies in theaters, which did make me cry. But, like, I don't need to, when it comes to things that I want to feel that cozy, like, curled up in bed or, like, curled up on a big cozy couch, all that stuff. I don't want to do that with a bunch of strangers because there's noise and it's whatever. And I can't just, like, then follow it up with, like, just going straight to bed or, like, watching something nice and cute right after that. I have to drive somewhere, and it's like, it's a whole thing. So I adore theaters for a lot of stuff, but, you know, like even the Marvel properties when we were still regularly going to all of those, which that's a whole other thing. When we were still regularly going to all of the Marvel properties, theater, 100% of the time. Star Wars, 100% of the time. Because, like, they are visually, like, having them on that big screen. Oh, yes. Artwork, beautiful. Super cool. But like, and we saw Coraline in theaters. That was cool. But also, I don't know. I would much rather have my own bowl of popcorn on my couch in my PJs for something like that. Or like WALL-E, right? Of like this cute, cozy little thing, which I'm pretty sure I saw it in theaters. But like, I kind of remember watching it at home more because of that. Again, I want my cozy feelings, my cozy vibes with my cozy movies. I want my big explosions, whatever, on a big screen because that's, you know, that's the vibe.
Yeah. But do you not feel that, like, I've been to movies that are like probably like a little like on the quieter side, and I think that it's hard when you're in like a theater and you're kind of like on the same wavelength with everyone else in that theater. I think that like those quiet moments in movies can like really hit just as well.
Yeah.
So do you not feel that like I understand wanting like, oh, sometimes it's nice to have like the cozy feeling and have something in the privacy of your own home that way. Do you not feel that like I guess I'm trying to articulate it. Do you think that the theater is incapable of providing that?
No, not even a little
Okay.
bit. Like I'm a big fan of live theater as well. I did a lot of on stage acting when I was much younger and more physically capable of doing such things. I've been to live concerts where it's been from opera to ballet to all these like that kind of stuff that it's often quiet and intimate and you're with hundreds of people. I mean, same thing with movies, right? There are some that I've watched that like, you know, even just like the cheesy, my husband and I used to do double features when he lived down in Delaware. And we would just go and like watch whatever was playing back to back. And some of them were like the cheesy, like the Other Woman, right? With Cameron Diaz and a few other women and, you know, a bunch of stuff. And like, there's a huge benefit to doing that. Honestly, if money were no object, I'd probably go to the theater a lot more. But if I'm thinking, like, I mean, real life being what it is, the theater is also very expensive. And so if I'm looking at what would I rather watch at home versus what would I rather watch in a big room with a bunch of people on a giant screen, I have to pick, you know, the cost-benefit analysis, if you will. So, like, you know, when we recently went to see Evanescence and Hailstorm in concert. Yeah. Right. And obviously they did the big rock show songs like the raise your lighters and like rock out, but also the very quiet, the very beautiful, the very melodic, like props to the dudes that like brought the pianos on stage multiple times, like hot damn. And sitting there basically sobbing at a few of the songs in a room of in a stadium of other people that were also sobbing to some of these songs was, of course, a beautiful, wonderful experience. But also, again, if money were no object, yeah, absolutely. I go to theater all the time. But, and if the physicality of going to the theater, which I think people don't really realize a lot of the time, I have gotten out of particularly the long movies, right? They're like 2-3 hours long nowadays. I go to stand up and my husband has to help me down the stairs because I can't support myself going down the darn stairs. So I have to be very choosy about like, what do I want to experience in a room full of other people with this big screen or whatever?
Yeah.
Versus what do I want to just be cozy at home for?
Totally
right?
fair.
And there's like limitations around that. So yeah, like absolutely. If I could do all the movies all of the time, I'd probably do more of the feely ones, in a room with strangers too, but I can't. So like, there's got to do the math for it. It sucks.
Totally fair. Totally fair. So regardless of where you're watching a movie then,
yeah.
what's the go-to snack? What is the ideal snack combo?
It is a big bowl of popcorn with butter and salt and a little bit of garlic. It is peanut M&Ms. Classic ones, they changed the recipe, I'm pretty sure. That's my hot take for the day. I'm pretty sure they changed the recipe of peanut M&Ms and they're just not the same anymore. And like a root beer. That's my my triple threat trifecta of like, this is the perfect snack. Because you got the salty and you got the sweet and you got the bubbles that aren't like too sweet. I don't know. That's my preference.
Nice. What film will you never watch again if you can help it?
Okay.
And why, I guess, is the follow-up.
I have 3 for similar but different reasons. So the first one is Ghost Ship.
Okay.
I really love horror.
Yeah.
Yeah. I adore horror movies. I will watch them all day long. But the first like 2 minutes where, spoilers for Ghost Ship, I guess, there's like a big steel cable that cuts everybody basically in half except for the little girl. That screwed me right up. And then later on, I think it's in Ghost Ship. I might be misremembering. A string inside a piano snaps and like cuts someone's eye out. It's horrendous. I can't do eye stuff.
Yeah.
I have worn contacts in the past and I stopped because I was just like, I can't do this. I can't get up in here in my face. And so yeah, that's why I will never watch Ghost Ship. In theory, loved that movie, but those 2 things I'm like, I just don't. I'm good. No, thank you. Awesome premise. Don't want to see people get cut in half. The next one is Requiem for a Dream. Again, really cool movie. I watched it for the first time on a laptop in Paris with a friend. My parents were in the room next door. If you have ever seen Requiem for a Dream, there is a scene where we're keeping this PG. So 2 ladies are having a time. Yeah, 2 ladies are having a time together and not in a good way. That's what I'll say. And I don't know what it was about when I watched that movie and where I was in my heart, but it just screwed me. Like, I did not like it. It felt so uncomfortable. And like, I think that speaks to how well it told a lot of the story, but I just can't do it. I just can't.
I mean, it's a profoundly uncomfortable film in many ways. I don't think I've actually seen it all the way through. I think I have bailed out at frequent points watching it. Suffice to say, it is about like addiction and it's a rough watch. I feel you on that. Yeah,
it's a rough watch. It's, again, if you like it, good on you. It's a solid piece of art. Doesn't mean I have to watch it ever again.
Yeah.
Speaking of a solid piece of art, this is the controversial one. The Pianist. Look, it's a beautiful, heart-wrenching film.
Yeah.
And it goes into some of the worst moments of humanity in, modern Western history.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like since that movie came out, which was like the early aughts or something?
Yeah.
Like, Aiden Brody's been in like a million different things since then. Adrian Brody. But like the seeing of human suffering has become, I don't want to say commonplace, but kind of, right? With like different social medias and all, like 24-hour news cycle, blah, blah, blah. My heart can't take it, you
Fair.
know?
Yeah, fair.
Like, it's one of those things where I watched it one time and that was enough.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
But I have no, like, it was, God, such an impactful and such a profound look at evil. I can't do it again.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Fair. I don't think I have not seen that one.
If you ever do, because I can't watch it for the podcast, dude. I just can't. If you do watch it, you have to be in a good mood because it will spoil your good mood. And you have to have time to go and hug someone you love and do something that brings you joy right after, because it is like, I have a very visual memory. Like, I am trash at remembering people's names, but I can remember faces and I can remember stories. Yeah. That's what makes me good at my job, right? And I still have scenes from that movie in my head that, dude, it's heartbreaking.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
All the way through. Like,
yeah.
Start to finish, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I've seen Schindler's List a couple times.
Yeah.
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 Also worth noting, that is a Roman Polanski movie, which may, if people are interested in watching it, that may sway their decision one way or another. I'm not going to get into that. That's whole other can of worms.
If you do, give yourself time, because boy howdy.
Suffice to say, complicated people can make, can still frustratingly can still make
Ain't that the
really
truth?
good art.
Ain't that the truth?
I'm gonna pull myself out of that turn.
Yeah, let's talk about video rental shops.
Yeah, on a much lighter note, video rental shops, they don't exist anymore, or if they do, they're very isolated and limited, which is often a shame. I'm fortunate enough that there is not a rental place, but there's like a kind of a used record shop that doubles as a comic book shop and a board game shop and a movie shop nearby. Yeah. So I mean, like, I'm not able to rent it, but I'm able to buy good movies for like $5, which is cool.
Nice.
All that being said, your local video rental shop or shops growing up, what were they? Where were they?
So, I just a small note on the brevity of them. I was just in the car the other day listening to, I think it was You're Wrong About with Sarah Marshall, the podcast. And she did this really lovely episode on what brings people joy. So if you're feeling a sort of way about the world, highly, highly recommend even just that one episode, because it is just chock full of people calling in and talking about the things that, bring them joy. And one of the people that called in talked about how they started a movie store and like get to do all of that stuff of like, hey, we have all of these cool movies and this and that. So like, they think they exist. I think nerds like you have these like, I just want to do this thing, and then they just do it. And I love that. I love that for them. And I hope that continues, because I think there's something so beautiful about, and this will pivot into my actual answer, I think there's something so beautiful about going to your local video store and standing amongst the racks and being like, what do I want to watch today?
Yeah.
So I had a couple of different movie stores growing up. The one that I went to the most as a kid was our local corner store, like our convenience store, right? It was where you get milk, it's where you get ice cream, you get the bubble gum and all that stuff as a kid, with your pocket money.
Yeah, your bodega, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm from Southern Ontario, not New York, so. But no, they had a like 2 or 3 racks. It wasn't a prolific collection or anything. Some older films, just random collection of things, and some newer ones, right? Like the new releases and that sort of thing. They'd only have 1 or 2 of everything, but you could go there and just pop over, after school or, on the Friday or whatever with your parents, and you'd go get a thing and come home, whatever. So that was one of them. I also spent an aggressive amount of time as a kid at the library. And for those of you that don't know, besides the fact that libraries are absolutely magical in every way, shape, or form, they also often have movies. And often because they are part of a interconnected network of other libraries, depending on where you are, you can find a lot of really obscure stuff at the library.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 out of 10 would recommend going to your local library if you're ever interested in checking out physical media.
Mm-hmm.
But the primary video store that I would go to, well, there was 2 of them. One was a Blockbuster. It was farther away though, so we'd stop there on the way home from like piano lessons or something. But the one that was within walking distance of our house was a Rogers Video. I don't know if it was something else other than a Rogers Video when it first started, because I would have been too young. But I ended up working at that Rogers Video for a couple of years during college. And it was such a community hub.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would see friends' parents, I would see neighbors, I'd see teachers. I remember one teacher coming in and being like, "Oh my God, you actually talk?" Because I was such a quiet kid in high school, right? Look at me now, sir. I have a whole ass podcast. You're going to have to bleep that because we don't swear on this show. And it was such a cool experience getting to be on the other side of the video rental. Because, like, as a kid, you go in with your $5 or $10, whatever. You buy your popcorn and you get your movie or your movies or whatever, your video games, all this stuff. And if you don't know what you want to watch, you ask the person or the people that work there because they are surrounded by movies all day, every day, right? And then I started working there because, as a person who worked there, you'd get free rentals. So every night after work, you'd grab a movie or 2 and you'd just go watch a thing. Or like you'd have a movie playing during your day in the store. And being able to connect with friends and colleagues and strangers about the stories that we tell and the stories that we engage with, whether they were the big crazy blockbusters that we had 80 copies of at any given time, or like the little niche ones like Swing Kids, where someone was like, "I don't know, I'm into like this and this," and like, "Let me tell you about this movie," was such a gift and it was such a community hub because everybody watches movies at some point, right? For the most part, like everybody is like, "I just want to watch a thing on a Friday night or whatever." And it was so cool to be able to be that source of truth that I started a podcast with my friend to be able to do it more after that movie store closed, because half of my movie collection that I own in physical media came from that store closing because I got movies for $1 a piece. So yeah, that's a tour of my video rentals. It was a good time. I miss it. I miss it.
God, I do really miss video rental stuff. As ridiculous as it got towards the end, I do really miss it.
Yeah.
I think that kind of brings us to our close of like.
I know.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you, and your taste in movies. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I
and
think
now, why would you do that? Why would you put that song lyric in my head? I'm gonna have that stuck in my head now, forever.
You're welcome.
All day.
You're welcome.
It's awful.
I'm benevolent.
Yeah,
benevolent
apparently.
influencer that way.
God, I'll have to think of a musical to get stuck in your head for the next episode. All right. So, I mean, we don't have any movies to recommend because we just talked about all of that stuff. So instead, what I will do is I will recommend that you find us at Patreon as Coffee and Kurosawa. You can also find us on Blue Sky as Coffee Kurosawa Pod. And you can find me on Blue Sky, Substack, and Letterboxd as Farrah Sarpkaya, and at sarpkaya.ca, where I lend my voice as a voice actor. So, hit me up. Ben, where can the people find you?
The good people can find me on Blue Sky as at the Benjimon, and on Letterboxd as at Benjimon. And yeah, I think that brings us to a nice little close on this this wonderful little digression into what we like about movies.
Amazing.
Yeah, and if you're hearing this and wondering what we're getting up to next, that might change because, as we were saying, we were going to watch Taxi Driver, and we both kind of like mutually were like, "Hey, so I don't want to talk about this anytime soon.
Need something.
Let's call an audible." So we did that. So that'll come out at some point. But until then,
yes.
Thank you
until
for listening.
then, yes. Go ahead. I usually do the closer, but please, by all means.
Yeah. Until then, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.